Hey guys, today I'm joined by Andre Ewell, UFC bantamweight. He's 17-7 in his MMA career. He's fought 7 times in the UFC. And Andre, you got a big fight coming up here, man, on July 24th. You're taking on Julio Arce. That's going to hopefully be on the card with TJ Dillashaw and Corey Sandhagen. That's the reports right now. That will be the headlining fight. So for first question for you, Andre, man, how are you feeling less than 2 months out from your fight?
Pretty good. Definitely pretty good. Training camp going actually pretty wonderful. I can go ahead and say meeting even more people. But definitely feeling great. Walking in or going ahead of this fight and everything.
You know, obviously a different feeling going into this. Your last fight, you know, you took on like a week notice with Chris Gutierrez. What's the difference? It just is there a confidence level too with being able to have this longer time to prepare with instead of the Chris fight where it happened so fast? I mean, obviously you had other things going on with the Cody Stamann fight. Kind of what's the difference there?
The fact is that we have a full training camp. Normally we don't have, or since the whole COVID and everything happened, people really wasn't getting full training camps. And granted that I am like the type that I like to always move on a day-to-day basis, meaning if I was able to fight every week, I would definitely do it. You get the full training camp. So that means like a full, a whole game plan that you're able to honestly work with and say, hey, we're actually gonna end up doing this. So I said it's like a full benefit of the whole situation, the difference from now and then from Chris. And 1 week of prepare, and at the same time you're expected to drop down to one weight and you come into a catch weight, so things end up becoming a lot different.
Yeah, and so you're talking about game planning and things like that. How much did you know about Julio when you accepted the fight?
I'm gonna be real, had no much. As soon as they ended up offering it or, got brought to my table, it was already a yeah to it because I wanted to get back in, because the last time that everybody saw me, I was like with my head down type thing with the loss. So I didn't know much about them, didn't do a lot of homework on the situation, but the team, my team, they're doing all the homework. So they've actually had like all the best questions and answers for the guy. But they did, my manager did let me know straight off the bat that he was a Golden Gloves guy. So that just means that me and him are going to be able to stand in the middle of the octagon and kind of throw. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, so I guess speak like a little more broader about like how you guys match up stylistically. Obviously, I'm assuming expecting a striking war going into this fight.
Well, that's exactly what I ended up prepared for, but I already do know that everybody that I do fight always turn into wrestlers. So regardless of the situation, I'm well prepared and making sure that, if he does, we're ready, suited, and able to get down with the scrambles.
So we actually haven't seen Julio fight since November 2019. So it's been a long time. By the time he gets into the octagon, it's going to be like a year, 8 months, something like that. Are you expecting anything from that with him? Like, do you think he's going to come out a little harder? Do you think there's going to be ring rust? Are you putting any stock into that at all?
I'm gonna go ahead and say it's gonna be between the two. I can go ahead and say I'm expecting something, but at the same time, it's gonna be having the same feelings since the last time I fought was in February. So granted, it's 2 more months before or after and everything, it's still gonna be low ring rust. And the fact is that if he has a boxing mentality or a stand-up mentality, that he's going to try to find his footing before anything starts. So it's kind of like you go into a whole new gym and you get ready to start, and in boxing style, it's you get that little fill out round, but sometimes people don't give you that fill out round, and I'm basically that type of person that doesn't give you the fill out round. So in reality, he's going to have to end up basically adapting to what I'm about to bring to the table,
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I don't know if you do predictions. Seems like you're kind of a predictions guy. What do you think going into this fight? What do you think?
I see in the future, it's the first round. I'm coming out on his neck. It's getting dropped with the right hand. That's what I'm feeling right now,
Perfect. Let's just kind of shift back here to your fight with Gutierrez. Obviously, like I said earlier, you took that fight on a week's notice. Kind of, you had that the COVID, positive test. That's why you didn't fight Cody Stamann, which would have been a big fight for you, as you've said in other interviews. That was a ranked opponent. You fight Gutierrez February 13th, I believe was the date. What's your biggest takeaway from that fight, would you say? Was there something that happened in that fight where like, man, I need to go into the gym, work on this, or, mentality or things like that?
Mentality, it should have been, the fact is I should have been my old self. And, before I entered the whole UFC and everything, I had the mentality of seek and destroy type thing. I was like the man, I was the shark in the water. I was the white shark in the water, like everybody knows when you see that shark, you just kind of either stay away or, hey, let's get out of the water type things. One or the other, that was at the time when I was going by the name Afro Monkey, So it's one of those mindsets that I had to end up bringing that back, and that energy where I was the show. Like, I kind of ended up turning into this moment where I wanted to be kind of like Cerrone and everything, because I ended up catching like one of his fights where he ended up hitting this guy with like an 8-piece combination, and they made like an anime out of the whole thing. I want to have that whole night and help, have the whole highlights, but not knowing my highlights easily come with knockouts, just keeping them short and simple, pushing forward. So that's like a little, as in the mindset where I should have been, and then granted, if I had a little bit more time to actually work on that type of style, which I knew I was going to fight Chris in the future, just didn't know, hey, in a week notice type thing, Chris is a good fighter. There's nothing taken away from that to this moment. Like, he will give a lot of top 15 people problems. And, so now it's just kind of like opens up that door where you kind of want a full camp for that type of person. He has unique type kicks, and it's one of those situations where, like, I was able to handle it in the first 2 rounds. It's just that I surprisingly fell into it. A shin in the first round that ended up taking away all the highlights that I was doing. Think about it. I didn't fall, or I didn't get hit by the shin. I win the fight. It's one of those type of little takeaways and gives. It's one of those situations that was close, etc. That it's a little small turn of events, and in a lot of people's minds, they felt like, oh, I did win, and then the other ones, if hey, you didn't fall into that, or hey, in the second round, if you didn't even shoot for the heel hook, you would probably end up seeing a different fight. But I end up looking at it, me being me, like a genius fanatic, or it's just one of those stick to your guns, and my guns is my A game. And my A game is I'm a striker at the end of the day first, and then as long as I have that, I'm good to go.
So then I have to ask, is there any part of you that regrets taking the fight on short notice? I mean, you're a fighter, you want to get paid. That's how you get paid, is to get in the octagon. You want to get that octagon experience. But I mean, taking it on a week notice, and like you said, to prepare for that style, you want a little bit more time in the gym. So what do you think about that?
I don't regret it. I'm not going to lie. Cause like I said, that would have been a good name on my resume, no matter how you end up looking at it. Cause I do see Chris going far in like the top 15. I see a number on him in the future. I feel like he can end up beating a lot of 10 and 10 and on type guys, like I feel like him versus a Cheeto would be an interesting fight that people would actually like to watch, him versus, put him with the guy that just fought last week, Coach. Coach. You could even Rob, like, it's an interesting fight where no matter what, because Chris has the length, he has the kicks, he has the coaching, and granted, I feel like his ground game is still building, but he has it. So at the end of the day, that was a good fight for me to pick. Or, even if it was a short notice, it was a good one for me. Just like this, if they told me to fight, if I had to fight Urijah Faber next week, I'm not going to say no to that. I'm going to say yeah to it. And granted, I know it's the name, and I know that I'm going to end up calling them out, but that's a name that I'm not going to say no to, because at the end of the day, in like 10 to 15 years, people are going to be talking about him and his name, just like that.
Yeah.
And that's how I look at it.
Speaking of Urijah Faber, you actually called him out on Instagram a couple of weeks ago. Why the California Kid? Is it the name? Because he's a UFC legend, he's an MMA legend. Is that why? What do you got? You got some beef with the California Kid? What's up?
Nah, no beef with the man. Granted, the people that I'm around either have beef with them or they love him. Like, like my brother and cousin. Like my brother wanted his, one of his headbands. Before he had his kid, he always rocked his headband walking out. And my cousin is a big fan of him. And then my best friend, ex-wife, was a huge fan of Faber. So it was kind of like one of those, hey, I need you to beat him up when you get that chance type thing. But and then at the same time, it's California Kid. Like I want to take the name too, like I want to be like the guy that ends up having the name brand and, and I also felt like that would have been like an awesome and cool fight. Like Urijah's a fun person, people love him no matter how you end up looking at it. And at the end of the day, how this game is automatically played, it's for you to be loved, you got to beat the one that they do love. Like, at the end of the day, like I have like majority of my fan base, it's actually kind of funny, that are all from Brazil. And it was because I fought one of their super fan or, one of their favorite fighters and everything. And I beat them because, it's like fighters is religious out there. It's like 100%. Like, we fight, that's their NFL or / NBA type thing, So
Hen and Brow? Is it the Hen and Brow fight? Yeah.
Brow, Hen and Brow. So for me, ended up doing that became majority of my fan base is out there. Like, so at the end of the day, you beat the one that they love, they end up giving you respect. And especially if you beat them in a fair game and a challenging game. And my style is very challenging, very fun. So me versus Urijah, it's a fun fight. And then everybody that's in his camp or, that he trains and everything will also be a fun fight. So at the end of the day, it's a win-win. Even if I don't fight him, I get to fight somebody from his squad, And if they don't give me people from the squad, I'll get to fight Urijah Faber. It's a win-win. Even Dominic Cruz. Eventually, I'm gonna call him out probably the next one. So I'm seeking a legend after my next fight. All right, this is the next fight of mine.
Might as well add Jose Aldo to that list as well.
And the funny thing is, he is, but I know they're gonna try to keep him away from me until like I get like a good number on my name. But he is definitely on my list. They know it.
Fair enough. Just talking about like building yourself into the star and like, making a name. You spoke to, I believe it was Cage Side Press, about wanting to be the Dwayne Johnson of MMA. Can you more kind of like elaborate on like what you mean by that?
The people's champ. It's one of those things at the end of the day, and actually how I explained it. Because I went into like this whole court situation, for my boy and everything. So I ended up getting like mad, denied, and looked down, like, down upon. And when you end up on that side, you don't like that feeling. And then anybody that end up jumping on Dwayne's pass, like, before he started wrestling, he only had like $9 in his pocket that, or in his wallet. And then he, I guess to this day, keeps like $9 in his wallet, just to let people or let him remind himself of where he came from, of when he didn't have it and didn't have it all. And me, I was the same, didn't have everything, didn't have it all. And when I did have something, it easily got snatched away from me and I wasn't feeling it. And it automatically got me down to deep depression type of thing of ending myself, like, that whole 9. But now it's where I'm at, where you want to be the biggest thing that ever happened into whatever you end up doing. And right now I am in one of the biggest sports in the world at the moment, and I want to be that guy that started from the bottom, clearly what, because I didn't come from no Dana White show or the Contender show, the Contender show and Tough. I didn't end up doing that. I ended up coming out the hard route where I was supposed to be a feeding stone to a fighter that was trying to rebuild his career. Like, and I ended up crushing that. So you got to end up looking at that. So now I already showed that I have the potential to do things. Now it's for me, and I'm still learning. Don't get me wrong. I'm still learning and I'm still getting better no matter how you end up looking at it. Granted, at the age of 33, but I still got well over 6 more years, and just that being said, I want to be the guy that automatically just becomes that shining hope for everybody, but at the same time that takes over, like at the end of the day, when Rock was in the WWF, and I'm not saying WWE, it was WWF. People end up knowing that was the World Wrestling Federation, he started and he was just basically like the side people, side job, side guy, you know? And then next you know it, he started developing his own character and people ended up gravitating to him, you know? Then next you know it, he went from like, when I'm talking like old school, I'm like mad old school, where he was in like the domination of a squad, you know? And then he went in from there to building his own self, where he started to fight Stone Cold. He became a man, becoming this and that. And then next you know it, he was the face of WWF. You couldn't say wrestling without The Rock. And it's like The Rock, Stone Cold, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But he was one of the main faces. And then he goes to movies, became even bigger, you know, like Stand Tall. That was a good movie of it, you know, and just that movie alone brought, you know, it ends up bringing people, and it brought me in, and you know, you wanted to build like a inner hero in yourself, and I guess you could say Dwayne was one of the guys for you know, for most people like us, like, you know, so you want to end up building, you know, so just like that, I want to be that guy that's in the UFC where he's the face, you know, like bigger than life, bigger than Connor. I want to be that guy. So that's where I'm at with it.
That's awesome, man. I guess just thinking about the overarching like dreams and goals of MMA, like, first of all, I guess how active do you want to be this year? And then further to that, you mentioned you're 33 years old. Where do you see yourself in the next few years? I'm assuming UFC Gold is what you're going for, obviously. Can you just kind of, I guess, explain your short-term goal here and then your long-term?
Short-term goal, you know, constantly keep kicking ass, you know. It's 100%. Like, I want to be the guy that, or in this year, I want more than just 1 or 2 more fights, you know. Like, the goal was to have 7 fights this year. That's the goal, and still is, and I feel like I can definitely fit that in. Obviously, I just got to do my job and finish all these fights in the first round, and we can automatically have that. And definitely in a few years, probably in the next year, me fighting for the belt, or me making my name to the moment where I have that chance to be fighting for the belt. And that's not only for 35, that's also for 45 as well. Making my name for both classes. I don't want it where I'm just sitting here at 35 and thinking that's it for me. No, it's 45 and eventually 55. Like, you know, goal is to move up, and goal is to conquer and be the man. Like, you know, hands down, want to be the one that takes over this whole game, and that's how it is. And then, like, you know, and obviously get into movies, because, you know, I feel like I have the face and I have the modeling hands, you know, and I got the legs for it. You feel me? Just telling me, I think I should be in movies at this moment.
Awesome, man. Last question for you. It looks like that the headlining fight's going to be TJ Dillashaw, and Corey Sandhagen. Big fight, obviously, in your division. How do you see that fight going down?
But damn, truly, I think that me and my opponent should be at least co-main event in this bad boy. I'm just gonna be throwing that out there. But I feel like between the two, I'm more favored on Corey at this moment, because I feel like TJ, it's been a while, like, you know, and I think it's gonna be a different person, and we don't know if it's gonna help him or not. But I do know that Corey already been doing what he's done, you know, been doing, and he's only on like the train of going up, you know, or what would you sit there and say? He got jet backpack right now, and the only direction he wants to go is up. And I feel like I'm on the Corey Sandhagen's jet package, because he's going up with it, and I'll go with him. You feel me? So I'm with Corey on this one.
Awesome, man. Cool. Well, hey, that's all I had for you, Andre, man. I really appreciate the time. Good luck in July. Good luck with this training camp, man, and take care.